Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's me again, it's Paola Barbarino, the CEO of ADI. This time introducing the latest project of ADI, our accreditation program. Next slide, please. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the speakers of today. They will be DY Suharya, who is the Regional Director for the Asia Pacific Regional Office of Alzheimer's Disease International, Mary Flynn, who is our Accreditation Advisor, and in her regular life, she's the Deputy Registrar at the former Katz Business School, City University, London. Taylor Paatalo, the Digital Communication Coordinator at ADI, and last but not least, Dr. Alice Tsang, Associate Professor and Vice President at Kiang Nursing College in Macau. So thank you very much for being in this session. I'll just give you a few notes about why are we here. Next slide, please. Quite a long time ago, we realized at ADI that there was a need for training in dementia, and in particular dementia care. And this need came from our members, from professionals, and from also family carers. And it was higher in lower and middle income countries. As a consequence of that, we created an internal program of training, which we have delivered for a few years. But we also realized a couple of years ago that this program was very difficult to scale up. And we are not really a training organization. We knew how to do a training and conduct it, but we could not quite scale it up at the same speed and level that an academic institution or a training provider or even our members in some case could do that. But the demand was still there, and it was very large. And given that we had developed quite a lot of tools around training, we thought that perhaps we should focus on accrediting institutions. We do know what ADI considers good training for care. But what we don't necessarily have is a direct access to the market of people that want to do that. And this is how the accreditation project was born. So I am now going to hand over to DY, who is the head of this project, because the project was originated in Asia Pacific first, but there is demand for it all over the world. And DY will explain to you how we are going to conduct the training going further. I would also like to thank the Van Otterloo Family Foundation that has enabled us to really look at this project in great detail and develop this new program of ADI work. So DY, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much. I'm not going to even say morning, afternoon, evening to everyone around the world. Hello, how are you? Stay safe. Thank you for attending this session. Accreditation. Accreditation, for the wording of accreditation, the definition is basically the fact of being recognized, accepted, or approved of. And in this case, Alzheimer's Disease International, a federation of more than 100 organizations, associations around the world, aiming to improve quality of life of people with dementia and family caregivers. We cannot do that alone. We definitely embrace partnerships, and we really have the importance of having this high quality standard. And as Paula mentioned earlier, we did in Asia Pacific, the region that I'm overseeing, approximately 20 members, the demand of dementia care skills training has been increased. And so the needs of people with dementia and their caregivers change over time. And in order to ensure that the best care to be provided, care system need to respond appropriately. And it was detailed in the ADI World's Alzheimer's Report that we launched in 2016, Improving Healthcare for People Living with Dementia. To maintain this, we need regular contact, monitoring, reviewing care plans, providing support, meeting needs when they arise. And so we aim to support the improvement of care for people with dementia and reducing the variety and the quality care provided, regardless of where in the world care is taking place. So ADI, as mentioned by Paola, established a more focused approach on meeting people's needs by providing a global recognition to institutions to deliver high quality programs. And these programs will provide structured approach, enhancing knowledge and skills of participants. We also establish standards that the providers of programs would need to adhere to. And through successful completion, providers of these programs can earn the accreditation, a global recognition meeting the standards of ADI, assuring integrity and quality at all levels. And why do we do this? We receive, as a global federation of association around the world, we receive so many requests in the past, endorsements of programs from members or institutions. And I'm very proud to do this, share this program to you, and happy to have our experts here. We have an accreditation advisor, Mary Flynn, who will be speaking more details on the overview of the process. We have Taylor, my colleague, who will explain the overview of the website. And we're also very lucky to have from Macau, Alice Tsang, that will share more on why does Macau think this program is important. So I will pass this on to Mary.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for having me here today. It is a great pleasure to be here, and I've had a wonderful time working with DY, with Paola, and many members across the ADI association. Thank you. I guess just to give a little bit of background, as Paola mentioned earlier, I've worked for many years with the business school, City University of London, in many roles, and in recent times I've worked in a central role as the Deputy Registrar for Academic Quality. And within that role, I look very closely at our accrediting bodies. I work with our accrediting bodies, and all good, well-recognized international schools will aspire to be accredited by three main bodies. One is EQUIS, it's European, AACSB, American, AMBA, UK. And working with these accrediting bodies, we, as I said earlier, we strive to achieve high recognition and adhere to good standards in terms of who we are as a university, our training, and of course, more importantly, our students and our staff. With this experience, I was very, very happy to work with ADI and maybe in some small way contribute to the wonderful work that's already undertaken with ADI generally, and I guess more specifically with the work they do with training bodies, training organizations. What is accreditation? Accreditation is a recognition of quality. It's normally achieved as a result of an evaluation process where established standards are met. What will ADI accreditation be? What will it mean? Through successful completion of an evaluation process, carers, their trainers, and providers of training programs can achieve accreditation. ADI accreditation will mean that the training and learning activities have reached the required standard, the required ADI standard, ensuring integrity and quality at all levels. And as DY and Paolo alluded to earlier, it will be an international recognition, a global recognition of quality training, high quality training, and more importantly, far more importantly, the quality of care that we can provide for those living with dementia. ADI accreditation will mean, I think, many things in the future, but it will allow providers, i.e. university establishments, universities, training colleges, training bodies, who have been accredited by ADI, to develop and enhance programs and maintain and demonstrate commitment to regular improvement over a period of time. It will allow individuals who have been trained on ADI accredited programs to undertake and be committed to regular CPD activities, personal development within their area of expertise, and provide regular updates of ongoing training. I think it will generate a global network of trainers and participants, allowing them to connect with like-minded people from programs that have been accredited and have received this high-level recognition from ADI. Generally speaking, an accreditation, as I mentioned earlier, means being accredited by an organization, in this case ADI, will mean achieving standards set by ADI, and this is it's quite a detailed process, quite a prolonged process at times. But we have given quite a lot of information on the website in terms of the various stages of the process. In summarizing very quickly, an organization would submit a report, a self-evaluation report, to ADI. ADI, and I guess myself, we would have a look at this report. It would be written to very clearly predefined standards, all of which is available on the website. ADI would establish a panel. They would come and meet the participants in the review, members of the university, the training college, the training program, meet with staff, trainers, students, come away, assess, and hopefully accredit the organization, the college, the training program, and that is putting it very simply. I have established, as part of my work over the last 18 months, 4 clearly defined areas in terms of accreditation. The first would be a provider. We accredit a provider, i.e. a university, a training college, a medical training center, and again, more information on the website in terms of how that will work. The other set of standards I've established would be Train the Trainer program, the next healthcare professional training programs, another set of standards and evaluation process for domestic care worker training programs, and perhaps further down the line, it may be possibly to accredit for individuals, family carers, to receive a type of recognition of the work that they do as part of caring for people with dementia. And that's it's a very quick, very brief summary of the work that will be involved. But thanks to Taylor, and she and I have worked very closely over lockdown. And she, I think, has done fantastic work in terms of interpreting me and my language and the language of accreditation, and I think is really very well explained in the website, and clearly we will develop that further, and we will develop the program further over the coming months, over the coming years. I think it's a fantastic idea, a really fantastic idea, and I think really worth continuing and developing over time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. I think there has been a technical issue, and whilst you were speaking, we did not see any of your slides, but you did cover all of the points. So just so that everybody realizes what the points were, is that accreditation is a recognition of quality, is usually achieved as a result of an evaluation process which established which standards need to be met. And then through the successful completion of that, the training programs can achieve an ADI accreditation. And that means ADI would ensure that the program has received the ADI standard, ensuring integrity, quality, and global recognition. I'm not going to go through all of the slides that should have been there, because Taylor Paatalo now, who is our next speaker, she's going to go through slides explaining us in detail from ADI new website how the process is going to work. Now, can I ask those that are attending this session, I know there is a number of training providers at university attending this session. If you are interested in more information, you can use the discussion forum or the live Q&A, or at the end of the session, you can also email any of us at ADI once you have had the chance to think about it further. So now, without further ado, I would ask Taylor to please come online. And Taylor, please, if you could say, when do you want your slides to advance, not to have the same technical issue. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paola. Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor, and I'm the Digital Communications Coordinator at ADI. And as Mary was kind of touching on, for the last year, she, myself, and DUI have been working on this program together. And one of the main tasks of my role was finding a way to not only make the accreditation program easier to understand in terms of language, but also how we are going to make it flow on our new website, which hopefully you will have seen by now. So if I could just have the next slide, please. So I know it's a bit difficult to see, but I'll try and explain this as clearly as possible. So today I'm just going to quickly run through how you can learn more about the accreditation program through our website, which can be found underneath the What We Do heading on the top navigation bar of the ADI homepage. So during this, I'll briefly touch on some of the information that Mary previously mentioned. So when you click on the accreditation tab underneath What We Do, you land on the main page that introduces the program. And from this page forward, you'll see an additional navigation menu. If I can have the next slide, please. You'll see an additional navigation menu that exists on the right-hand side. And the links here have been organized in an intentional way for you to navigate through the program. So essentially, the more you click down through it, the more in-depth the information on the program will start to go. So if I can have the next slide, please. So before I walk through it a bit more with you, I just wanted to quickly highlight two documents which are available at the bottom of this first page. And they are the process flowchart and the ADI fact sheet. So for many people, including myself, accreditation is a concept which can be quite complex when it comes to understanding how it works, especially when you really start to dig past the surface level of everything that it entails. And it can be made even more difficult to understand if, in this case, English isn't your first language. And as an international federation, this was obviously something we had to take into consideration. So both of these documents act almost like cheat sheets. The process of flowchart helps to show what steps need to take place during the accreditation application process and what documents you can be expected to provide before being assessed through the relevant bodies. The fact sheet, quite self-explanatory, gives a quick snapshot idea of what accreditation is, what ADI accreditation is, and what benefits there are to being accredited by us. Could I have the next slide, please? So when you're beginning to consider if you may want to apply either as an organization or potentially as an individual, the How Do I Receive Accreditation page is a good place to start. It's quite self-explanatory, right? So building off of that flow chart I just kind of mentioned, it gives a general breakdown to the 4-step process of obtaining ADI accreditation and what you can expect along the way. Next slide, please. So I don't know if you were able to see it, but on my previous slide, the first step in this whole process begins with the eligibility request form. This helps the ADI Accreditation Board, which is responsible for examining all applications and eventually awarding accreditation, to see if your organization, training program, or you as an individual fit the criteria for meeting the ADI standards. Next slide, please. So before you begin to fill out the eligibility request form, it is highly encouraged that you view the standards and criteria that you're going to be assessed against. The standards and criteria will be different for someone who is, say, applying as a long-time caregiver versus a national healthcare planning office. Next slide, please. Which is why after you click the standards and criteria page, you're going to see more pages that are available on that sidebar navigation menu. These pages provide more information around the different sets of standards and criteria that each provider you will be assessed against. So once you find the standards and criteria page that is most suited to you, you'll find that each standard is explained a bit more generally, and with it, examples of the criteria you might be expected to meet in order to meet that standard. Next slide, please. So should you submit an eligibility request form and be accepted to begin the ADI accreditation process, one of the next things you'll be asked to do is to complete a self-assessment report, which is also known as an evaluation report. The evaluation report asks you to provide more information about your organization or program, essentially just showing that you're already an established provider. It also helps you to provide more information in advance of the formal review by the ADI accreditation panel. And because this report is so important to helping us assess you or your program, you'll see that at the bottom of this page, we provide further guidance on how to approach writing the evaluation report. Next slide, please. So should you decide to follow through to this next page, aptly titled Writing the Evaluation Report, you'll find out more information on how to approach writing it, including what type of asked evidence you should be expected to provide, what specific information to include, as well as the report template itself. Next slide. Now, at this point, you've already heard me, as well as Mary, mention the ADI Accreditation Board. The ADI Accreditation Board, in addition to the regional expert panel, the REP, are key players in the process of reviewing and awarding ADI accreditation. The Accreditation Board is made up of representatives from Alzheimer's and dementia organizations around the globe, and they're key personnel in the area of dementia care, as well as the education programs around dementia care. They are essentially the final say in whether or not accreditation is awarded. The Regional Expert Panel, REP, is made up of local and regional experts in the areas of dementia care and dementia education. They'll be familiar with local healthcare and dementia care environments, as well as local and national educational contexts. The local review or another member of the team will normally speak the language of the applying organization's country. And here is on this page where you can learn more about these two bodies, including more in depth about their role in assessing you, at what point in the process they're involved, and how it's decided who makes up these panels. Next slide. So at the very end of this navigation menu on the side, you'll see that you have finally come to the fee models. And if you feel like the ADI accreditation may be right for you, or it's something you want to consider more, we've provided different fee models that organizations, programs, and individuals can be expected to pay. And like many things, in light of the COVID-19 situation, the fee models have been adjusted accordingly. Next slide, please. So should you have any more questions around accreditation, what it involves, you can either go to the ADI website, alzint.org, or you can email DY Suharya, our Asia Pacific Regional Director, for more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Taylor. I've seen that there are some questions in the forum about the slides. Just to let everybody attending, thank you for your question. Taylor's presentation is just illustrating some main points about our website. Our website is full of information in much greater detail and hopefully more visible than the slides. So I would encourage everybody to go to www.alzint.org, our new website, and look at the accreditation pages for further information. Thank you so much. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Alice Tsang, who is our next speaker. Dr. Tsang will explain about her own experience of being interested in the accreditation project from Macau University and why it is important for an organization to obtain an ADI accreditation. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paula. It's my pleasure to have the opportunity to share why our college is interested to be accredited for the program. Next slide, please. We actually, as you see in this picture, we are actually a nursing college in Macau. And also with the college, we have a lot of our colleagues and actually the faculties are members of the MADA. MADA is the Macau Alzheimer's Disease Association. So with this accreditation that we have planned is going to be a joint application between the KWNC and MADA for the to be accredited as a provider of the ADI program. Next slide, please. Macau is very small. For those who actually not aware where we are, it is part of China since 1999, and it's a very small city in Southeast Asia with only 672,000 population. And our official language is Chinese and Portuguese, and of course, the working language is English. Next slide, please. It's a bit of background about the KWNC and MADA. And KWNC, as I mentioned earlier, is a nursing college, which is founded in 1923 and is part of the Kiang Hospital Charitable Association. And I would say the college is the oldest nursing education institution in Macau, a special administrative region of China. In 2015, the college has received confidential rating from the UKQAA for higher education and in our institutional quality audit. About the MADA, the Macau Alzheimer's Disease Association, it was founded in 2010, which is only 10 years old, and has been a member of ADI since 2013. The association is based in Macau, SAR, and some of the services that actually provided by the association include the care training program. We organize educational events. We provide helpline services for those who need for our support and advice, and also we train the carers. Next slide, please. Okay, and for the carer program, actually since 2017, the KWNC first knows about the ADI, the care planner program. So we work with the Alzheimer's Education Center under the Hong Kong Alzheimer's Disease Association. And we actually, the course participants are all those workers who works with elderly care, in particular those living with Alzheimer's disease. So we have since then run 2 courses already, and it's well received by those who actually participated in the program because they find it very useful, in particular if they are actually working with the older people or people living with Alzheimer's disease. Next slide, please. Okay, so the reason why we so interested to be course provider is because we actually planning our own care planner program for practitioners and also for carers. As I mentioned earlier in the last slide, that we have been running the program with the Hong Kong ADA, but with those going on, we think we should be planning our own program. So that's one reason. And also that's one reason why we be so interested to become an accredited provider. As the college, so far for our program, we always got our programs accredited before to ensure that qualities are met. And also the reason why we interested to be the provider, also because we're thinking about including this program as part of our a subject in our higher education program, which I implant, like a master program in elderly care. So that's the reason why we want that one to be our own. And number two, had it accredited, so make sure the qualities are meet with the global standard. And number three, we want it to be offered in a higher level of educations. Next slide, please. So that's our plan. So I hope that will give you some hints and ideas why the KWNC being in such a small place, we would like to have our programs accredited. Thank you.
Dr. Tsang, thank you so much. And thank you also for the enthusiasm and the interest that Macau has shown very early on for this project, alongside another couple of organizations that we have been working with towards running our first pilot. Now, there are some really good questions coming in, very specific. The first one I am going to put to DY is coming from Sharifa Tahir, who is asking, is a great project. Are people with dementia and carer members of the accreditation and expert teams? So DY, would you like to share your thoughts about that?
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for the question. I'm very happy and proud to lead this project. I'm very excited because I myself was a caregiver for my mom that was diagnosed with dementia. For 10 years, I managed to spend time in taking care of her, and I was looking for educational sessions and all that. And why this is important, because as mentioned earlier, the accreditation program establishes standards, and we will invite people with dementia and family caregivers and multidisciplinary experts in the committee. This is still an early stage, but we hope that once the committee is established, it will represent all of the experts, and including people with dementia and family caregivers, to provide us all the advice and in journeying this process. So the answer is yes. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you very much, DY. I think it really would not be ADI if it weren't that we include people with dementia and carers. I mean, that's what we are about, really. And no program really can be complete or even valid without the introduction of those that eventually will be beneficiary, if you wish, or at the receiving end of such a program. Now, there is another very interesting question, which I'm going to put to Mary. So it's from a lady called Eva van der Ploeg, who's saying, thank you for this interesting breakout session. I'm involved with a USA-based program that may be of interest. It's called Montessori for Dementia. I guess one of our jobs would have to be to create a more general version of the training with examples and footage from different countries and not only USA. Or would you envision completely adapted programs per country? So Mary, would you like to take that one first? And DY, probably you want to come on to this one as well after. Mary.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for the question. I guess the development of the project and the accreditation element of the project and developing standards. The aim would be for training bodies in different countries, different organizations, to be able to work with these standards. So they are developed in a generic way, shall I say? So you know, in a very simple reply would be these standards, these processes, these recognitions, the criteria that we look at can be applied in different countries with different organizations and different bodies, and more specifically specific training bodies. So yes, we can work with different countries and we can apply the standards. We are developing. It's in some ways it's early stages, and we've done a lot of work and we're ready to roll out certain aspects of this project, but as we go along, we will learn, we will grow, and we will develop. But as they stand, we can work with any organization, with any body, and they are generic and can be adapted. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. DY, do you want to come in on that one as well?
Yes, Paula. So that's the importance of having our accreditation international committee involving people with dementia and family caregivers. Yes, there is a generic version, and there must be a cultural adaptation. And we always going to involve our committee on that, involving people with dementia and family caregivers.
Thank you very much. There is another good question that has just come in, and this is about, are dementia service provider facilities that do not register with the national authorities eligible for accreditation? Now, you have had the case of an inquiry quite recently about that. So DY, would you like to take that question?
Yes, so we actually, this is why dementia is everybody's business. There's factors not only on health factors, psychological factors, social, and all that. So it's a multidisciplinary approach, and institutions, academic, we receive requests from a variety of different regions seeking for that. But as Mary said earlier, I think at some point, there's criteria that we need to meet. There's a standard, and there's all these process. And I really encourage to go to our website, www.alzint.org, alzint.org, and you go to what we do, and you can browse and digest and learn all about the process of accreditation that Taylor beautifully explained earlier.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, DY. There are some queries coming in from South America around whether these slides and presentation will be available with subtitling in Spanish. Yes, they will be. As all the live sessions, they are currently in English, but they will be shortly available with subtitling. Could I encourage anyone who is following us from South America to come forward, as we are particularly interested in countries in South America. We currently have the majority of interest coming from Asia and Europe. It would be great to also have a South American institution. So this is definitely going to be a global program. Now I would like to, well, this discussion is kind of coming in, but I think we have managed to answer most questions. There's one that has just come from Carlos London of the US Alzheimer Association, who is asking whether there is a cost in dollars for an organization to be accredited. Yes, Carlos, there is. Accreditation is a complex process, and although a lot of our committee will be voluntary and we will be able to keep those costs down, but there is a practical cost, and also it's important to consider accreditation as continuing professional development, really. So I'm going to ask Taylor to take that question as the cost is fresh in her mind, having just updated our website on that matter.
Sorry, Paola, could you just repeat the question? My internet's been cutting in and out a little bit.
It's about the cost of accreditation. So what do you have on the website?
Yep, so if you were listening during my presentation, towards the end, at the very end of the navigation bar on the right-hand side, when you're going through the accreditation program, there's a page called Fee Models. And this essentially just offers different examples of what you can expect to pay. It's obviously going to be tailored to, say, if you are a caregiver versus a professional health body. And I believe that we have the costs in pounds at the moment, but you would be able to look at that and get a better idea. If you're still not sure, you could, of course, email either myself or DY, where we could answer more about what you'd be expected to pay.
Thank you, Taylor. And just to clarify, there is going to be a sliding cost. So, of course, it costs less for an individual. It costs more for an institution that has above a certain turnover, and it costs less for an organization that has a smaller turnover, pretty much according to the same principles that govern the ADI membership. We try to make it more affordable for those who can afford less. It is obviously our intention to try and encourage organizations in countries where the GDP is lower to not be discriminated and still be able to access this, if you wish, mark of excellence. Now, there is a very good question coming from Emilia Brereton. Familia is in Barbados, one of our members in Barbados, who is asking, would you be able to adapt these programs to meet the needs of the environment, especially for those living in the tropic, due to the lifestyles? Now, Familia, you will have seen the great session that preceded us on treatment, care and support, where Dr. Hamed Al-Sinawi had a fantastic presentation on cultural issues. You and I know that we couldn't be more aware of that, but I'm going to pass that question directly to DY, and then I would like Alice also to come into that as she is taking the program into Macau. So DY first, please.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for the question. And adaptation is actually a key word as well on this. And we know that we want to have a dementia-friendly environment, and so it's definitely in our plan, in our program.
Okay. Alice, would you like to talk about cultural localization?
Yes, actually, with our program, because of the language, so basically, our program will be run in Chinese mainly. But of course, the material that we use will be in English because we find it easier to get material that's in English. But somehow, in our part, we will use Chinese in main, and also because Macau is quite close to China, and in particular the Big Bay area that we are mentioning close to, say, the southern part of China. So basically, we got requests from, say, southern part of China. Actually, if we can actually conduct the program there. So basically, the next step will be, other than running the program in Macau, we're going to offer this program to our neighboring cities as well. But also that will be in Chinese mainly. So the cultural issue, of course, when thinking about the carers, because of the cultural differences in Chinese and the Westerners, likely the family are more keen to, say, take care of the elders with Alzheimer's. So our carer program mainly will be the family members as well. Of course, in the helpers will also be counted in the carers, in training them how to take care of those in need of the care. So I hope that I can give some information about outside of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alice. That definitely makes a lot of sense. This issue of localization is going to be absolutely essential. We expect every provider to localize the program to their own cultural circumstances, certainly their language, and deliver it in their language, which of course posits a challenge to us. We are a global organization, but we need our committees of people that will be evaluating the project to be able to understand this program in whatever language there is. And it's an ambitious program for sure. We are gonna run it in 2 different phases. We are going to run first a initial pilot with which I shouldn't call it a pilot. I don't particularly like the word pilot, as everybody knows. Is actually the program. We're going to start it with university institutions, so an institution of the academic nature, because usually they're better geared up to this kind of programs, as universities are used to do accreditations. And so we will start and learn from the first wave, and then we will open it progressively to other organizations, including ADI members. I've seen from the Q&A there is a lot of interest. I've seen Inosca Ocampo from Bolivia, Noemi Medina, the lovely Chacha, the chair of Alzheimer Iberoamerica, intervening. I have just seen Vidya Sinoi mentioning the issue of the importance of having an organization like ADI maintaining this kind of standards above what would be normally a usual university accreditation program. So that is really heartening to hear. Now I can see that the Q&A have been exhausted. Quite a lot of people have been participating. So I would like now to close this session by asking my panelists, each of them, to give us one final thought about why do they feel proud to have been associated with this program, and what is their vision and hope that this program will achieve. Can I ask, please, DY first?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm very proud to lead this program. My passion is in dementia care, and I'm also linking up to the previous questions about cultural adaptation. This is the importance of having the committee. We will have a diversity, a multidisciplinary people contributing there, because within a region, for instance, certain languages, certain images, certain content, it has to have some sort of cultural adaptation, and the committee will step up on providing some guidance on that. Why it's important, the vision is basically we as ADI provide the high standard, this establishing standard that all providers of program can contribute and can participate. And I would like to welcome all of you to go and explore our website, and more information or accreditation in our website, www.alzint.org. And you go to what we do and you click accreditation, because hopefully next year, and thank you, Alice, from Macau as the first country, Kiang Nursing College, stepping up on participating on this. And we welcome other institutions as well And the vision is definitely in improving quality of life of people with dementia and family caregivers. The standards, the bar is high, and we align with, and also always link up with the cultural adaptation. Thank you.
And could I now please ask Dr. Tsang, who has been called by DY, to tell us what do you think you're going to achieve with this? What's your vision for the accreditation?
Okay, I'm so delighted that when I heard about the idea in 2018, and I met with Mary in Belgium, that when it comes to me about the idea of accreditation, I'm actually saying to myself that the KWNC have to be, if not the first one, will be the first few who are going to be accredited by the ADI. So that has been in plan for the college to have this accreditation for some years. So I'm so glad that it's going to be realized. And as said, we are ready, and we are already writing up our SED for the accreditation. So we're looking forward to the accreditation in a few months' time. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to
I would invite,
yeah.
And I would say that all the audience, if you're interested, you should think about getting your program accredited, because that's quality assurance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alice. That's a lovely thing to hear. Mary, what's your view? What's the vision? You have been associated with us now for 1 year. I know you have a personal interest in this project.
Yes, indeed. I have many interests in this project. First, it is a personal interest because my own mom lived with dementia for many years. But I have equally, if not a greater interest in it professionally. And I've worked in education all my life, working with students, with young students, with those training, with staff, with tutors. So a wonderful environment to be in, and I see the benefits of good quality training and support for both trainers, trainees, etc. in the world of education. I think recognition by accreditation is such a good thing to have, and we're working globally with I guess common standards and common criteria, and to answer comments coming in from around the world. How can we adapt this process to the different needs, the different cultures, the different environments very easily? I think finally a great project, something that we should really work with, will give recognition to those carers and those trainers who work so hard to support those in need. And what better organization than ADI to be one of the first, if not the first, to roll out such a project. So fantastic. And I've had many years experience working with different accrediting bodies and training bodies, with students, with staff, with colleges, with trainers. And I see a great future for this. I think fantastic.
Thank you very much, Mary, and it's been lovely to work with you and to know that you have a personal interest in making this happen. Taylor, last but not least, you've taken this idea and you've made it look amazing on our website, and you've had to come to grip with the idea itself, which has not been no mean feat, as it's quite a complex concept. I thank all of you that have stayed on this session. It's quite a technical session. Any idea or advice that you would like to give? What's been your feeling of being proud to be involved in this project as well?
Well, I suppose, as you just said, and I kind of touched on earlier, when I went into this, I quite frankly had no idea what I was about to walk into. I had no familiarity of accreditation. But it was obviously with the help of DY, Mary, and yourself, Paola, who really helped to introduce it to me. And after really coming to terms with what accreditation is, and especially in this context, what it can provide for so many people, I really hope that even if at first some people who are maybe considering it but aren't sure start to look over it, that over time they maybe realize how much value that this can hold. And I really hope that I've been able to put it together in a way that if you're like myself, you don't know what this is, when you start to read it, you might think, hey, maybe this is something I would like to get involved with. And yeah, it would just be great to see, not only involvement from all of our members, but different organizations from around the world to truly make it an international project, so to speak.
Thanks so much, Taylor. You certainly have done a great job to translate this vision into reality. Now, the vision. We started this because we felt that the standards of training around care around the world were very variable. There was no minimum common denominators. And we started this because our members needed it. So this has always been a need-based assessment. We are just trying to make it such that it will not stay in the confine of our membership or of the few people that can afford the time to follow this, but we're trying to make this project bigger, to scale it up, to have more people access the incredible wealth of information and experience that DY has accumulated during these years. She's by far the best person to run this. She's been running a number of these trainings all over the world, and she has been amazing. The feedback we receive after each of these trainings is extraordinary. So we just hope to be able essentially to bring that same feeling on a much larger scale. And we have to thank DY to having been very patient throughout this project, because it's been a really complicated project to make, to bring together. So that's a vision, that's what we are hoping to get. I hope that you will be with us in making it a reality. So I bring this session to a close. Thanking all of you that have been with us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.